The Joe Rogan Experience.
You know, here's another thing, because it's kind of along the same line. Because, and I hope I don't get emotional on this one, but so, when I was 15, I'd won a state championship, and my first state championship in wrestling. First year as a high school sophomore, because that high school started then. And anyway, long story short, this neighbor kid ended up murdering my sister, and he had walked to school with me a couple weeks before that, and said something to me, who if I would have communicated, it might have saved her life. Just because she probably would have never let the guy into her house.
What did he say?
He just said, like, boy, you got a hot sister, and he was kind of my age, 1 year older than me, but my sister was 4 years older than me, so he was probably 16 and she was 19, and she had a boyfriend, and she was living at home yet, and so the funny thing is I actually was going to come home and say something to her, but when I got home, I got distracted, and I said, oh, it's just boy talk, it's just boy talk. And it was mostly about he just thought my sister was really hot and that he would like to do something with her, but he never really said it outright. I mean, I just figured something, the boys would like to do, But anyway, so, that 2 weeks later, we're on a fishing trip with my mom and dad, and my sister's supposed to join us, and she doesn't show up because she worked for my dad after she went to college for a year, and then she worked for my dad after that as a secretary in the real estate business. So she didn't show up, so we called the neighbor, and back in those days you didn't have cell phones, so we had a phone that was outside a cabin that we rented, and I can date you because the cabin we rented for $4 a night. So it's just unheard of, and that was, it would have been 1964. So we were at a payphone about a half a block from the cabin that we were renting, and we roll the window down and you put the dime or nickel in the phone and you call. And my dad called I was in the back seat. My mom and dad were in the front. My dad was driving, and he called the neighbor and he asked if my sister's car was still in the driveway, and he said yes. So, and she was supposed to be with us 90 miles away that morning, and she didn't show up. So my dad and my mom get really nervous, and they tell him to go break into that house. If you can't, if there's nobody, you can't get in, break into it, or if she doesn't answer the door, get into that house and call us back. So you can see the tension in the front seat of the car. I can see my mom and dad worried, and the phone rings finally at about 15 minutes later, and all of a sudden, my dad drops the phone, and my mom was going. She was kind of starting to go hysterical and wanted to know what was wrong, and he looked over. I'll never forget this. Being a 15-year-old kid, and I looked. My dad said to her, "Diane's not alive." And oh my God, it's just my mom opened the door of the car. She took off running back to the block to the cabin. I got out and ran after her, and when I followed her into the cabin, by that time she was already on the floor, and she had grabbed her hair, and she was pulling her head, hitting the wooden floor, and she looked up and she had blood all over her forehead. And so my dad then followed in, and we packed up real quick. In like 10 minutes we left half the stuff there, and we took off for my hometown 90 miles away. But within 15 minutes, within a half hour of that phone call, I was in the back seat, and there was a lot of trauma going on in that front seat. And I said to my dad, "Dad, I may know something about this. I don't know for sure, but I may." And he overreacted. He slammed the brakes on the car, got out of the car, came around, opened the door, pulled me out, slammed me against the door. "What do you mean you may know something about it?" And then I told him the story about the 2 weeks before, that me walking to school with a neighbor kid, and that what he had said. And he just hugged me and threw me back in the car. And we stopped at the next town, which is about 15 miles later, and went into the police station. And we told the police what had happened as far as sister, daughter getting murdered the night before, and we were on our way there. But my kid told me a story that I think if you could help me as soon as possible. So they called ahead to the Waterloo Police Department. The Waterloo Police located. He was at work sacking groceries the next day in a grocery store, and so he'd actually admitted right there that he did it. After they got him. But the thing is, what's amazing is this guy. Then he escaped from prison after about 20. He was only 16. He got life in penitentiary, and he escaped, and that pretty much doomed him to ever getting out. And then, because he was out for a month before they caught him, and he actually, in the trial, he was so mad about getting sentenced to life in prison that he pointed to the Gable family, and on the way out, and he said he was going to kill us all. And so anyway, this guy goes to prison, and he lives, and he dies in prison. After he broke out, he never really got a chance to ever let him out. But here's the thing. So this is about, I don't know, say it's 7-8 years ago when he passed away. But we got another cabin now. It's about 30 miles north of the cabin we were in that time, and that was a rental cabin that's torn down now, and we go right by that place. So we're going right by that place. Actually, me and my wife had been at our cabin that my mom and dad owned, and I inherited when they passed on. But we were at that cabin, and we were coming home, and we were going right by the spot where that payphone was, and where we had learned about her death. And there's a cell phone call. It's the warden of the prison he's in. I think it was Indiana. He was in Indiana, the prison. And the warden told me that the guy that murdered your sister just died. The exact same spot where I learned of the murder, I was driving by, and it's about 115 miles from, well, it's actually a lot further than that. So it's like spooky. It's like real spooky. And then what's really amazing is what he said to me, the warden. He said before he died, he was seeing a counselor, and the counselor told me this, that he said, he repented. He said, I really shouldn't have. I feel bad about killing Diane Gable. I mean, this is years later. But that he had told, and he had been rehabbed somewhat. And he goes, and the reason why, he said, I knew I was going to kill somebody, but he said, because she was such a nice girl. Oh my God.
He said he knew he was going to kill somebody?
He said he knew he was going to kill somebody.
It was just who he was.
Yeah. And they told me that. And I cried for an hour. And it got a lot out of me. But, as bad as my dad felt, my mom felt, and, I felt probably, I kind of got rid of a lot of hatred when he told me that he admitted that she was such a nice girl that he shouldn't have done it. And it was, probably not too far. He probably did it on his deathbed or something, but he probably had all this guilt. But it helped me too. And it helped me because even though I cried for an hour, and I think the stuff you build up inside you sometimes, you don't know what it's going to take to get it out of you. And I think that really helped me with my situation, because you always feel a little guilty because of maybe you could have saved her life. But more than that, it's been something that I based my whole life on too. Just communication. I mean, this is your business, communication. Yeah. I mean, and sometimes my wife tells me I'm telling her too much. You don't need to tell me. We don't need to talk about this. I said, yeah, I do. I need to talk about. It's not just that. It's just anything that there's crops up. I need to go home and I need to have a conversation with somebody that I like and love, and to be able to see whether I'm doing the right thing or I'm not doing the right thing.
Catch new episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience for free only on Spotify. Watch back catalog JRE videos on Spotify, including clips. Easily, seamlessly switch between video and audio experience. On Spotify, you can listen to the JRE in the background while using other apps and can download episodes to save on data cost, all for free. Spotify is absolutely free. You don't have to have a premium account to watch new JRE episodes. You just need to search for the JRE on your Spotify app. Go to Spotify now to get this full episode of the Joe Rogan Experience.